20 years of dietary reform. That's what I've been through, more than. It's been a journey ever since becoming aware of the role that diet plays in my life. I mean, it all started with getting sick, with having a rash over my whole body. It turned out that it was preservatives and stuff like this, and additive stabilizers, chemicals. I'm not allergic to anything that comes out of nature. There's certain things that my body doesn't appreciate. I don't really eat oats because they just don't sit well with me for whatever reason. But I can. I just don't like the gas, I suppose. I don't like the indigestion. Gluten, I can eat it. You know, I went through a period of time where I was celiac. You know, I made a video about it. I've had received so much love and hate from that video, more than any other video that I made, because it's an issue that a lot of people face, and that is, to do with that. And so, I mean, and this will touch on that as well. But anyways, so like I've been through it. You know, I went to Thailand. I went on a big trip around the world, and when I was in Thailand, I stayed with a yogi in the orange, you know, like a Swami kind of yogi kind of dude. And he told me, he's like, hey, you know, he's like, why do you eat certain things? And I was like, I don't know, because I never thought about it. And he's like, think about it. You know, maybe try abstaining from certain things. And I did. And then, you know, very quickly I stopped eating alliums, like members of the onion family. I still eat them, but in only rarely and on certain occasions. I mean, they're certainly not a staple in my diet. And there are none in my cupboard right now, for example. And it was my road to becoming a vegetarian. And then that was when my wife and I split. I instantly got in touch with my heart and became a vegan, because I realized that I only ate those things because we ate them, and I was already at heart a vegan. And so, but then I got sick again. I was like, my body was falling apart. I was like, my knees and stuff was so sore. It's like I couldn't even walk. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And so I went on like a raw vegan, and then I was sitting there eating a piece of broccoli at the lunch table. I worked at this greenhouse in Surrey, and I was like, what does a body even run on? I was like looking at the piece of broccoli or something like that. So I started doing research, and that's how I found out about fruitarianism and people who swear by eating fruits, right? And then so I did, and I was instantly revitalized. I was getting the things that I needed from that diet at the time. I certainly experimented with like the Dr. Sebi protocol, the non-hybridized foods and stuff like that. So then you end up cutting out all these things, but then it's like, you know, it fell away from that because for unknown reasons. But you know, there's some truth to it, right? And then there's certainly to do with like intermittent fasting and Dr. Nun Amen Ra, you know, the video Vegan Strongman Eats One Meal a Day. I mean, I've watched that video so many times, and I've followed him a bit here and there. I mean, he has this like this detritus that he's created that's like his research and stuff, but he charges an arm and a leg for it, and that doesn't sit well with me. I mean, I don't understand that anyways. And so, but everybody's entitled to sell whatever they want that they create to whoever they want for whatever price. So I'll certainly set the price when I sell my book, and I can tell you it'd be about $15-20, right? So that's just a guess, right? But $19.99, right? Hey, how enticing. Get a penny back. But yeah, you know, like the intermittent fasting, and then it's just like, holy cow, do I need to fast? It's like, and then it was this thing, I still wasn't doing well. So then I was like, no, I need to eat more. But then it was like, okay, then it was like back to 100% raw. And then I lost weight. And then, no. Then it was this whole celiac thing. I realized that every time I would consume gluten, it would have a detrimental effect on my being, on my life. It was creating dandruff. I would have a lot of dandruff, and it's just like, oh, that's not good. My skin was dry, and I would get this thing, it's called geographic tongue, where it's just like, wow, something is eating me alive. And this thing, you know, the skin condition that I was describing earlier, that I developed, it was like just after I was in high school, so early 20s. You know, I'm 42 right now, and so that's why I say, like, it's been like 20 years of dietary reform, because ever since that happened, and then when I moved to England, my diet changed and it went away. I thought it was alcohol, I thought it was this or that. It turned out to be things like nitrosamines in pork products and in preserved pork products, right? You'd think, oh, they're dried and salted. It's like, yeah, and they're full of nitrosamines and chemicals and stuff like that. So anyways, like, so it was like back anyways, I can't remember where it was, but it was something like, so yeah, the thing is, the bumps on your skin, you know what they gave me? So I got this big patch put on my back, and they put all these chemicals, they test you, and it's like trying to see what you're allergic to, and da-da-da-da-da, you know, like science, you know, allopathic medicine. I'm not gonna, yeah, allopathic medicine. Anyways, and then they're like, oh, nightshades maybe, right? So what, tomatoes, potatoes, aubergines or eggplants, you know, stuff like that. Wasn't it, right? It was MSG, it was nitrate preservatives, which turn into nitrosamines, which are cancer causing, you know. Like, I have a purpose in life, and it's not to poison myself. So my body was letting me know, you got to stop this nonsense or you're going to suffer. Yeah, and it's going to be super obvious, and it's going to be really annoying. And that's the journey that I went on. And so that condition where you have all of these bumps all over your skin, it's called dermatitis herpetiformis, and it is something. So it's not herpes. It's a terrible name, but the thing is that it looks like it, and it's like on your skin, all of these little not pus, but like fluid-filled things, front and back, feet, armpits, back of knees, basically anywhere that could sweat, and even just like, you know, when eating bad things, just like little bits everywhere, like absolutely ridiculous. I got it really bad in Mexico. I went down there recently, and I had churros, and I tell you, that oil that they cooked those churros in was seriously contaminated. It wasn't like a liquid. Somebody saw them putting a block and melting it, right? So they're using a mix of things with just poison in them. You know, if you're not that sensitive, well, yay, you can ingest poison, and it doesn't, you know, your body doesn't give you feedback. So I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't think it is, but anyways, and so yeah, and they say that because of the dermatitis herpetiformis, this is one of the 100% you have celiac, right? So like, I had so much that I had to like explain all of this stuff in the comments on that video, and just like, you know, I took so much flack from certain people like, no, it's not this, it's not that. And I was like, no, but then I did a raw food diet, and during that time, I also went through a transformational, you know, metamorphosis period where I was really hurt by some people that I was friends with, that I went and lived in Vancouver for a while, and I thought they were so cool, but you know, what happened wasn't so cool, and I was like kicked out of this friend group, and it hurt so bad because people thought I was just the biggest scumbag ever. They're just like, you know, and I was just like, I didn't even know how to take it. I was so hurt by what happened, but through it all, through that pain, I was so disturbed. I woke up, and I started having healthy boundaries, which are the key to self-love. And I was like, okay. And so I stopped fighting and I started just standing in my power, essentially being self-empowered. I walked away from that nonsense, because to me it didn't make sense and it didn't resonate with me. And I stopped being friends with all these people who weren't my friends anyways, because you don't lose friends, you just lose haters in disguise. A friend will always ask questions and they will not assume the worst about you, and they're there for you in your time of need. And that is the opposite of what the experience that I have of these people in Vancouver. And so I got through that, and I did this raw food because I was following the advice of this guy. What is it? Tanglewood Fasting Clinic anyways, but he's all about the raw food and the fruits and stuff like that. And I agree with most of what he has to say. He looks like my uncle too. He looks like Leonard Horowitz. Like, there's a few people that look like this and they're all really clever dudes, even like, yeah, anyways, that's another topic. But no, I'll say even this yoga teacher that I'm going to start studying under, Dharma Mitra, he has this look to him as well. I mean, it's a certain archetype, right? I think, and they're teachers. I mean, there are people who are teachers, and so this guy, so I tried this about eating his way, and it was great for a period of time, and then I lost 10 pounds. I don't know what that 10 pounds was, if that 10 pounds was toxins in my body, energetically, emotionally, physically, I detoxed anyways. And after that, I didn't suffer from the reactions that I was getting from gluten, because, if you are celiac, sometimes it happens where you're just like, oh, whoops, but then nothing. And then so it was like, wow, I've healed from celiac. And then that is why I made that video. And think of that what you want, right? But that has been my experience. And then, so from that, I started reintroducing certain things into my diet. So right now I do eat a diet which is entirely devoid of gluten. I do, but just because I don't need it, I don't know. I mean, part of it is in not eating gluten, I started eating a lot of alternative products, and some of them I would get this stuff, it's like this amaranth bread. And I like a tasty bread. When I was eating regular bread, I would get rye bread because I like something that has flavor. It's got density. It's got sustenance to it. That's just that is distinct, nothing that is so far from like a plain white bread that gets stuck to your teeth. Like, it's just not even, so far removed from what that stuff is, it's not even funny. And so I found these products, and it's honestly, I've just stayed eating them because there's so many gluten-free options these days, and it's I can get gluten-free beer, and it's I think that I still have a mild sensitivity to it. Like, say if I was to drink a full gluten beer, I would sneeze, and I think that's my body saying something, get out. Don't want that, get out. Do I have the same reaction? No. But certainly just not helping anything. So it's of zero consequence to abstain to the greatest degree possible from that stuff. Although if I go out for sushi with my boss, I always get the veggie bento box, and it's the tempura has some kind of probably panko flakes or something, and that's wheat. So it's just but such small amounts, I'm okay with that. And when I am not in a situation where I essentially have to compromise with some of the meals that I eat, I would avoid it 100%. And so that is a part of that journey. And so then all of a sudden this whole yoga thing came into my life, and it's just like, okay, yoga and calisthenics, let's get strong, blah, blah, blah. And then I did damage to my knee because, so this is the thing, it's like if you practice, I'll just say it, if you practice yoga, I would really suggest learning from a teacher, take private lessons, because there are things that you can't get from a yoga class. You need the instruction. It's very individual for a person's body, for their constitution, essentially. And there are little things that you need to be corrected on so that it doesn't lead to an injury over time. So hugely important to get proper instruction if you're going to be doing something like that. And like I said, I figured I'd just figure it out for myself and just watch YouTube videos. And that is how I hurt myself, right? And it has taken like a year it's getting better now. But during this time when I was trying to figure it out, it's just like, how do I overcome this injury? Because it's like, I want to become a yoga teacher, and so I figured, okay, well, I just need to strengthen my body. So I was taking all these supplements, and I was doing calisthenics, really building my muscles, and then like also wearing myself out was something that I was doing. And eventually, and I was like protein, and it's expensive. All this stuff is expensive. And at the end of the day, it didn't have the effect that I was looking for. And so I toned all that kind of stuff down and kind of went into winter mode here. It's when I like moved into this, into my boss's place. He let me rent a room upstairs there. And so over this period of time, I went for a 100% raw food diet. I'm pretty sure I made a video about that. And then I also, but then wasn't happy. And so it was like, okay, I mean, I like rice. I like eating rice. I mean, and I decided to just stop with all of the insistence and the nonsense of like, it's important. It's a journey. I mean, it is important. You do have to pay attention to your diet. You do have to reform your diet. You do have to be very conscious of what you're putting in here and how you prepare your food. And, for myself, I eat a pretty much exclusively organic diet, because why even do the healthy stuff if you're going to literally poison yourself with other stuff? Like, why eat organic? Why, balance anyway. But eating cooked foods, like certainly through the winter, I ate a lot of beans and a lot of rice, and I even that's what it was, is I went down the road of paleo, and then so cut out all the grains and stuff like that, and it's just like vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and stuff like that. But it's just like, no, I don't enjoy this diet. I mean, I can see some of the logic in it. It's like, yeah, get away from all the processed stuff. Like I tell you something, I stopped eating 100% now is French fries and potato chips. I notice a reaction in my body where I can feel a tingling on my scalp. It feels like the formation of dandruff, and I can feel, and because of the cross-contamination that happens in, say, like a fast food joint, I would get just like this tiny little, a single bump, but like in some area, whether, the last one, it was here. I was like, there's cross-contamination. I am poisoning myself. And the stuff is terrible for you anyways. I mean, it dries you out. I mean, you should be drinking lots of water, but eating dehydrated potatoes that are covered in stuff, and it's just like, your body does not want that stuff. I mean, can you eat a little bit of it? Sure, but like have a couple chips. Don't eat a whole bag. I mean, that stuff, So anyways, I have completely stopped with that stuff, and it's so liberating to not be enticed by those things anymore. It's just like, it's just not worth it at the end of the day. I like my complexion. I like not having bags under my eyes and having low energy and having dandruff and having dry skin, and just, it's not worth it at the end of the day for me. That is just my path, and that is what I'm sharing. And, you want potatoes, buy some organic potatoes and steam them, and, honor them by not covering them with a bunch of stuff so you can't even taste the potato, that's a big part of my cooking style, is like I like to really not lose the flavors. Like if you're cooking rice, brown rice, short grain, brown organic rice, it has such a beautiful flavor, and if you lose that flavor, you've lost the dish, right? And so it's about working with and complementing, and certainly never overpowering, and finding this beautiful balance between the elements that comprise the dish, right? And so and you know what, so I started eating beans again, and over the winter and stuff like that, because life in Canada is cold, and it's like I need to compensate at least somewhat for the environment that I'm in. It's not appropriate to eat a fruit-based diet in the wintertime when you're living in Canada. I don't agree with that. I know there are people who would disagree with that, and good for you. I hope that works for you, right? But it did not work for me. I conducted my own research, my own trial and error, and it didn't work, and I didn't like it, and so I stopped. Eating all these wet foods in the cold of winter and stuff like that, and I started eating more hearty meals, and I really enjoyed it, and so I got through the winter, and then now that it's springtime, and I'm shifting back towards lighter foods. Always whole, fresh, raw, ripe, organic fruits and vegetables, in season, local, dirt grown, like high variety. That's kind of the ideas that I entertain most of the time when I'm eating. And also climate, right? Like eat what's relative to your area, the climate diet. Eat what's alive from the land, or the land will eat you alive. Like eat things that are native to right here, so they're the freshest they have, and you're one with the land kind of deal, not kind of deal, for real, right? And so eating those things, and it's good. And like at this place that I shop in town where they have the local organic produce, there wasn't a lot, but it's like, so then you start buying things that you don't normally buy and learning how to cook with them. It's like, I didn't used to eat rutabagas, and I'm not going to eat them very often, turnips and stuff like that, but you think outside of the box and you learn to make more soups and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, that's really nice. And then all of a sudden you added a new ingredient to your pantry that you don't eat all the time, but at least you're aware of it. Its flavor profile, and what its texture is, and how it can add to some of the dishes that you might like to make. And so the big thing for me is having a list of all of the meals that I enjoy and things that I like doing. Like one of them, I like Asian style noodles sometimes, so like a Singapore vermicelli, so learning how to make that, hummus or guacamole, or like shiitake mushrooms, and pretty much like fried in a pan with some like turmeric root, and maybe a little bit of chili oil, and like salt and pepper, with any vegetables. I really enjoy eating that, and oyster mushrooms as well. Like you gotta eat with the season. It's like, okay, what's available? How am I gonna get through this winter? But then, so I had a fantastic winter of indulging in some of these cooked foods and stuff like that. And then now heading into spring, summer, I just naturally am gravitating towards salads, where I never really used to eat a lot of salads, but nowadays because I've gone through raw food diets a few times, you add to your repertoire of recipes, and all of a sudden, you can't just make super basic bland, you have to have thought out salads. You have to combine ingredients very conscientiously. You know, you have to be aware of these elements and how to appeal to your own palate, to make balanced meals so that they're enjoyable long-term, repeatedly kind of deal. And so, so I started eating, that's what's on the menu today is a salad I'm going to have for lunch when I'm done making all these videos, because I've been putting this off for a long time and I just feel like doing it today. But yeah, I mean, right now I've got some arugula that's local. The tomatoes are organic, the avocados are not, but they don't need to be. And just, and then moving back towards fruit, I've found, like vegans today, man, you got it good. You don't even know back in the day, it's unbelievable. Nowadays, you can go to the superstore, like the supermarket, and get organic vegan coconut yogurt that is just like, say, the dairy yogurt in, say, like consistency and flavor profile, where it has this tartness to it. I really dislike the oat yogurt. I think it's disgusting. I haven't tried all of them, right? But coconut, you had me at coconut. I love coconuts anyways. And so being able to get that, and then there's this butter called Miyoko's. It's like a cultured cashew butter. And like back in the day, I used to love butter. So it's nice to be able to get my super awesome tasting gluten-free bread, slice some big, nice slices, put it in the toaster, toast it twice, and then put some of this stuff on there. And it's just a slice of heaven for me to be able to have the butter and the yogurt in my life. But like this morning, I had a bowl. So it's mango season. I mean, we get them. I drive 50, 60 kilometers in each direction. I drive to Surrey to this place, Henlong, in order to buy mangoes that are up to my quality standard, because the ones that they sell in there is nowhere else that sells them of this caliber. I have standards when it comes to fruit. I don't just eat any fruit. And so, anyways, it was a mango in a small bowl with mango, a few spoons of this coconut yogurt, and then with some hemp seeds on top, and then walnuts. And then I take a few supplements as well. Like I take spirulina. I take a DHA. It's like a oil. It's algae based. So both, I guess, algae thingies. There's a few supplements I take, resveratrol or whatever, because that's what David Sinclair takes. I mean, who's like a longevity guy. There's a few things that I have with that, and I really enjoy that food, eating that way. I have never felt so good than how I eat now, with like kind of honoring the season, the climate, and eating really healthy. And it's a good mix of raw and cooked foods, certainly, and not too much fruit, because it's the thing with and the intermittent fasting, which is a big component of a lot of people's or of certain people's dietary practices these days, if you're interested in living to be a long time and being really healthy. Allowing your body time to do things other than digest food. And so basically, the point of this video is just to say, like, what I've come to in all of this, and certainly say, like, with the gluten thing, with certain things, even with the grains. When I went on a paleo diet, when I stopped eating grains, I was doing very well for a short period of time. And then it stopped working for me. And so I started reintroducing them slowly. and in the right proportions, and it has worked beautifully for me. And so I liken this to an idea of, say, it's like if you hurt your knee, you need to let off. You need to take the pressure off of the knee and allow it to heal before you can reintroduce pressure and work or load onto that area. And this has been my experience of diet. There are certain things in my diet that, because my system was weak, because I was dealing with certain things, illnesses for what it's worth, right? I mean, I don't know if illness is the right word, right? But anyways, because I was dealing with sickness of a sort, you know, some of it mental and emotional, you know, like all this kind of stuff. I was dealing with some stuff, and some of it physical. And I certainly did a lot of cleansing over the years. I mean, there's no doubt about that. That's certainly been a part of my diet, like long, intense cleanses and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like through healing, like healing my knee, I am now able to put load back on it. I just had to stop for a while I healed, right? And so that has been my experience with the gluten. It's been my experience with the grains, with the rice and the quinoa, with the cooked foods, with whatever, right? I mean, it has been, so it's just about finding that balance, you know, like all of these things that I eat now that I'm healthy, I have no issues eating all of these things regularly. Grains, rice, quinoa, amaranth, I mean, rarely, but I do have it I haven't eaten it for probably like a year, but I do have a little thing, and I enjoy it just because I really like the flavor profile. When you cook it in the Instant Pot, it's so good. Otherwise, it's a real pain. For me anyways. I like things to be easy. And then also, like with the cooked foods and stuff like that, and like with lettuce, you know, I went through a time where there was like the whole, I don't know if it's like FODMAPs, it's like something, saccharides and things like that. It was, all these things were giving me indigestion. It's like, wow, I can only eat half an avocado a day. I couldn't eat apples. I couldn't eat corn. I would call it the corn broom, because I would eat some corn and then it would just go straight through me. So it's, you know, like a corn broom, how it like sweeps. So it's like it would sweep my system, and it's like I don't like that. Because it's like I spend money on the things that I buy to eat. I don't want to just poop them out before my body has an opportunity to break them down and extract the nutrition that is available. It just doesn't make any sense. And so I stopped eating it. But now I'm able to eat all of these things 100% plant-based, you know, die-hard vegan. I'm starting another channel. It's called The Vegan Authority. I haven't posted any videos, but I am this close. And it's radical veganism. It's a channel about veganism for vegans, where it's just like, stop pulling punches. It's just straight. No more beating around the bush. If you are on that path and you need some guidance, it will just give you everything that you need to wrap your mind around certain concepts, so that without a shadow of a doubt, you know that this path is correct. So that's up and coming, and I needed to separate this from this channel, from this spirituality channel, because it's too much for some people. It's too close to home. So if you click on a channel that's called The Vegan Authority, you know exactly what you're getting. There's no like, oh, I didn't realize, you know, because it is wrong to try to push an understanding on somebody else, or to, you know, to force feed it, right? That's mean. These things take time. It's a huge issue. It's challenging. and you gotta seek it yourself, right? It's like I always say, it's not a conversation for us to have, it's one that you have to have with yourself. And so but at the end of the day, the whole point of this video is just that what has worked for me is to find balance. I have found a way to eat everything, to abstain from from certain things, to completely cut certain things out, like I said, with the fried potatoes and stuff like that. Although on occasion, I might have one, but that's it. It's like not sitting down and devouring a meal full of them, right? To not do that. Or like a bag of chips. It's just like, to not let it become a thing. It's like with so many things, it's not a thing until it becomes a thing. Like I will have a beer once in a blue moon. I'll have a shot of tequila or mezcal, right? But that's it, right? I don't want more than one. One is enough. The law of one, right? The raw material, if you know the stuff. Which is channeling. It's spiritual stuff. It's not about raw food. Finding that balance with the stuff, and certainly taking a break from certain things and then coming back to them, but in the proper amount, to not be eating too much cooked food. I feel when I eat too much cooked food, I feel like a cooked food, because you are what you eat. I lose some of my vibrancy because and I can tell. And so keeping everything in this really beautiful harmonic balance of just kind of coexisting, co-creating, adding elements of the things that help and all this kind of stuff, and it all works together. And it at least for myself right now, after 20 years of dietary reform, I can honestly say that I have arrived at a place that I think might be viable long term. I think that the way that I'm doing things is sustainable, with my own experience combined with the information that I receive from a variety of other sources of people who are working along the same lines towards vitality and vibrancy and high vibration kind of thing. And so I wouldn't, it's hard to, it's tricky with this, because I would recommend it. I don't recommend anybody listens to any of my advice, but if any of it resonates with you, that's great. I guess my duty here is just to share my experience. And so I'm going to leave it at that. You're welcome.